Hello everybody and welcome back to GamingOnCaffeine. My name is Isaac and we are back for episode 9 of Hypovolemia. Last episode we upgraded our tier 3 altar to a tier 4 altar, got ourselves the bound blade, using the ritual of the binding over there, and today what I want to start working on is I want to start working on a little bit of Botania, because as I mentioned at the end of last episode, I would like to get some speed runes into my tier 4 altar here around the outside edge, and make it so that the blood altar starts to finish processes a little bit faster, because right now whenever we put something in there, the blood altar doesn't run out of blood. Like, we have enough blood being pumped in now, and enough of these runes of dislocation to where the altar is always full, but it's now fairly slow, because when we're doing bigger and bigger crafts, it takes longer and longer and longer, and it's not getting any faster. And that's what I would like to change today with the help of Botania. Now, you may be asking, Isaac, why do you need Botania for that? Just make some speed runes. It's easy, just make some speed runes. Well, it turns out that in order to make speed runes, we need sugar, and apparently the only way to get sugar is, of course, from sugarcane, which we can either get from sugarcane seeds, or we can get by using a reed block, which is just sugarcane, or we can get ourselves a hay bale, drop it into a mana pool, and that will get us one piece of sugarcane, which I'm hoping we can then use to grow more sugarcane and get ourselves a nice infinite source of sugar. As for that first option, getting sugarcane seeds, we could do it this way, but to get sugarcane seeds, you need both normal wheat seeds and carrot seeds, and to get carrot seeds, you need carrots, and the only way to get carrots is using a potato in a mana pool. So either way, we need a mana pool, and either way, we need to actually start with a little bit of Botania. So we're going to jump into the quest book here, and the first quest is already done, this one here, mixing blood with plants. We had to have a magician's blood orb, a weak blood shard, which we did at the end of last episode, as well as an oak sapling. The second part of this quest is to get some bone meal and a living root, and thankfully, living root is actually fairly easy to get. All that we need to do is stick one of these weak blood shards into the alchemistry set with a sapling, and I did go ahead and get quite a few more. I got, I think, 3 more. Yeah, we got 3 more of these weak blood shards since the end of last episode. They're not guaranteed every time you kill a mob. It's like every so often you will get some. For example, I don't want to put apples in there. I want to put my blood orb in there. If we come back over here whilst we're waiting for that and kill a few of these guys, we will probably get like maybe 1 more blood shard if we're lucky. Yeah, we didn't get any from that, so it's not like they're guaranteed. They are pretty rare when it comes to crafting them like that. It's probably best for us to actually keep 1 or 2 of them and use the recipe that involves an imbued slate to actually duplicate them. It's a little bit more expensive. It does require 1,000 life points and, of course, an imbued slate, which is like another 8,000 life points right there, but it's a guaranteed way to get more and more and more of them. And once we get these speed runes, getting imbued slates shouldn't be all that hard. So now we've got that, we can go back into our quest book, and there's 1 more, and that is to make floral fertilizer. Now, the way that we make floral fertilizer is, again, in the alchemical chemistry set, this time with that bone meal and that living root that we just acquired. So, one more time, let's head on back over here. Let's stick our bone meal in with the living root, and of course the blood orb. And there we go, we get our first piece of floral fertilizer, which completes the first quest within the Botania questline, getting us some floral fertilizer and the Lexica Botania, which is useful because the next quest wants us to get 1 of all 16 flowers within Botania, and to do that we are going to need quite a lot of this floral fertilizer, probably more than the 9 that we already have. So I've gone ahead and set up a little bit of a dirt platform here. You only ever get, I think, 3, I say that as we get 4, 3 or 4 flowers per floral fertilizer. We got 4 again, maybe it's 4 every time. So I don't think it matters how big you make the dirt platform. I was a little worried that this would be a bit too small, but I did some testing, and I think you only ever get a couple each time. I'm not quite sure how many we're going to end up getting from all of this. I really hope that within this 9 floral fertilizers that we have, we get all 16, because if we do, I think we get 32 more for completing the quest, and that is going to make our lives so much easier. And we did, oh no, we're missing like 2 of them. We're missing Mystical Green, which I did think we had, but apparently not, and we're missing Cyan as well. So, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go away, I'm going to craft up quite a bit more. It could take a little while, because you can only make 1 floral fertilizer at a time, and each floral fertilizer requires 1 of the weak blood shards. So again, I'm going to go away, I'm going to try and make 1 more. Hopefully that 1 gets me both of the flowers that we need. If it doesn't, I'm probably going to have to make a few imbued slates so we can make some more blood shards, so we can make some more floral fertilizer. But I'm going to do that, and I'll be back in a second. And there we go, 1 more bone meal later, we actually got the final green one, which I think should mean that we did the quest. Nice. Now, there is another section to it, which wants us to get all of the petals within the game here. Thankfully, getting petals is fairly easy. All we need to do is, I believe, craft these into the petals. Yeah, okay, so let me go ahead and put all of these into here real quick, and I'm just going to go ahead and 1 by 1 craft these all into their individual petals. And boom, there we go, we handed it all the petals, but there is yet one more thing to do. We have to make ourselves a flower pouch, which I don't actually think I've ever made, but I believe it just collects all the flowers together. So what do we need for a flower pouch? What do we need to craft this thing? We need a bunch of wool and one of any of the petals. Thankfully, I'm fairly certain we have a ton of string from that spawner we had upstairs, so making ourselves some wool is going to be fairly easy. All we have to do is something like that with a petal in the middle. I'm going to use like black, because I don't think black, actually I think black might be used for nightshades. I'm going to use lime, because I don't know anything that lime's used for. And there we go! Hopefully this is the end of that first quest line. It is, and we can now claim our 32 floral fertilizer, which is going to make our life a lot easier for crafting and getting flowers in the future. Now that that is done, we need to move on to the next quest line, which is this one over here. It wants us to make a petal apothecary and a pure daisy. So thankfully, a petal apothecary is actually really easy to make. All it is some stone, some cobblestone slabs, and any of the mystical petals we just used. I'm not going to use white because I know white is used for making the pure daisy. I'm going to use one that I don't use all that often, which is the purple one. Get rid of that. And then finally, the last thing that we need is the pure daisy itself, which is actually made in the petal apothecary with 4 mystical white flowers, which is why I didn't want to use the white petals that we already have, so I will take those. We're also going to need some kind of seed. I will just take the wheat seeds that we have. Let's, for now, I guess, stick this down right behind our unlimited water source, because that's going to make it a lot easier to fill it up with water in the future. Grab ourselves a bucket, boom, boom, drop in all 4 of these mystical white petals, 1, 2, 3, 4, press Q to drop them in, throw in some normal seeds, and boom, we get ourselves a pure daisy. Nice! Now, that is not the end of the quest line. The next part wants us to get 8 living rock and 8 living wood. And for those who are unfamiliar, the way that we get living rock and living wood in Botania is we throw down the pure daisy on a piece of dirt, really anywhere, grab ourselves either some stone or some wood, surround the pure daisy with either that stone or wood, and depending on whether you use stone or wood, it will turn into either living rock or living wood. The process takes about a minute to transfer over. We need some oak, not some planks. Thankfully, we have this chest pretty much full of the stuff. So if we were to go ahead and throw down 8 stone like so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it doesn't work any further out. It only works in this 8 around it, and I also believe it doesn't work on top. Give it about a minute, and it turns into living rock. Nice! So then we could just go ahead and harvest all of this and do the exact same thing with the wood. And there we go, that gets us all the living wood, which is all that we need to complete that bit of the quest. But of course, there is one more section to the quest, which is to make a living wood twig, and then use that living wood twig to make a wand of the forest. Thankfully, both of those things are super easy to do. So if we come on back over to here, do something like this, that gets us the living wood twig. Let's just put it into our inventory to make sure it counts in the quest. We need 3 of them. Oh, okay, let me do that then, I guess, and get all 3 of those. We probably shouldn't have to manually detect, we don't, and then all we have to do is craft the one wand of the forest, and the way that you do that is using 3 living wood twigs and any 2 colors of petal that you like. It does affect the color of the wand, but it doesn't actually affect what the wand can do, so I'm going to go with, like, I don't want to use orange, I'm going to go with, like, brown and, I guess, grey. Not doing those because I think those are particularly great colors, but because those are ones, again, that I don't think we're going to use anytime soon. I know that I think we're going to use orange, yellow, all the bright colors pretty early on. And there we go. That is the Botanist's Tool quest complete, and that gives us 32 living rock and 32 living wood, which again is going to come in super helpful in completing some of these other quests. And next on the list, speaking of petals we're going to use, we need to make ourselves 8 day blooms, and just like with the pure daisy, the way that we make day blooms is in the petal apothecary, but this time we need to use 2 yellow, 1 orange, and 1 blue, which is why I didn't use the orange earlier, 1 light blue that is. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go away, I'm going to do the exact same thing that we did earlier on. We're going to put the water in there. I'm going to try not to use all of my wheat seeds. I might have to do a little bit of farming to get some more of those, but we're going to need yellow, orange, and light blue, and of course we are going to have to use our floral fertilizer a few more times here, but if we go yellow, yellow, light blue, and orange, so that those were in the right order, but you get the idea, and then we throw in our seeds, boom, we get our first day bloom. I'm going to go away, guys, I'm going to do that 7 more times. I'll be back in a second. Also, a little trick with the petal apothecary, if you fill it up with water and then just double right click, it will go ahead and automatically put in the last recipe you did from your inventory, which makes it just a little bit faster, and you don't have to throw in all of those seeds individually. And boom, a little while later we have ourselves 8 day blooms. Nice. Now, the next quest, Nightman wants us to make, of course, the opposite of the day bloom, the nightshades, which are made in a very similar way to the day blooms, but of course, with different petals. This one is made with the black petals, the grey petals, and the purple petals, which is why I didn't use black earlier on. So, again, I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm going to make all of these. I'll be back in a second. And boom, once again, we are done with the nightshades, which I think is going to complete that quest. It is. And then we either get 8 day blooms or 8 nightshades. I'm going to take the 8 day blooms. And basically, for those who don't know, the way that these work, or the way way, for those who don't know how Botania works in general, the way that these work is basically these day blooms are like solar panels. You want to put them down like so. You can't put them down next to each other, otherwise you get like a weird little bit of interference. I am going to have to sleep because it is currently nighttime, and therefore these day blooms are not going to work. But the general gist is that day blooms kind of work like solar panels, and they produce mana in the day, whereas nightshades kind of work like the opposite of solar panels, and they produce mana in the night. Now I'm going to move this pure daisy for now, because we're probably not going to need it for the remainder of today's episode. So these are all producing mana, all the nightshades are, and if we get our wand of the forest out real quick, and right click on a day bloom, we can see it has no mana in it, whereas a nightshade is actually producing a nice little bit of mana. Now, the next thing we need to do is actually get that mana from the day blooms and nightshades into a mana pool. You'll see on the right there, next to that bar, there's like a little brown block with an X through it. That is to show that it's not linked to a mana spreader. Now, I'm fairly certain that the next quest in the quest line is probably going to be one telling us to make a mana spreader. Let's take a quick look here. This one? Yeah, it wants us to make a mana spreader. Now, thankfully, we did get quite a lot of living wood for an earlier quest, so making this mana spreader should be super easy. All we need to do is throw a petal in there, and boom, we get ourselves a mana spreader. Nice. And then the next part is, of course, to make the diluted mana pool, which is made using the living rock that we made earlier. So let's go ahead and take that, throw it in like so, and we get a diluted mana pool. Nice. That's probably going to complete that quest line. Oh, it's not. We need to make an actual mana pool in order to finish the thing. And the way that you do that is by throwing a diluted mana pool into a diluted mana pool with some mana. A little bit convoluted, I know, but let's go ahead and throw down this guy real quick. You know what? Let me move this back just a little bit. I'm not quite sure what the range is on a mana spreader, but I think it should be enough to pick all these up. So I'm going to put the mana spreader down like that. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to move it, because it's going to get real cluttered over on this side. It's already getting real cluttered with this massive blood altar over here. I'm going to put the mana spreader right about there, and I'm going to put mana pool over here. And basically what should happen is sometimes these link automatically, sometimes they don't. If they don't, we need to shift right click this. It goes into bind mode, and then we can just shift right click on one of these, shift right click on the mana spreader. These are now linked. You can see the tick is there, and this is sending its mana. You'll see it's now empty over to the mana spreader, which is slowly filling up. Let me quickly link the rest of these up. I should probably link the day blooms as well. And then once it's got enough mana in, it will go ahead and send that mana via a little like burst over here to the mana pool. So let's go ahead and just finish it with all these. And there we go. You can see now there is a little bit of mana in the mana pool there. That's probably not enough to make an actual mana pool, but what we need to do now is we need to make another diluted mana pool like so. And if we go back to this diluted mana pool, we can see that right now, this will not turn into a normal mana pool. There's a little red X in the middle there. That means there is not enough mana in this mana pool. And now there is, so we can go ahead and throw that in there, and boom, we have ourselves a normal mana pool, which we should pretty much go ahead and replace instantly, because the normal mana pool is what we need to make most of the stuff in the game. And so now, all we need to do is, first of all, complete this quest. Oh, there's more! Oh my goodness, it wants us to make endo flames. So, endo flames kind of work in a similar way to day blooms of nightshades, but instead of using the darkness or the light, they use fuel like coal, wood, oak, stuff like that, and therefore they're a lot better at producing mana, and they produce a lot of mana a lot quicker than the day blooms and nightshades do. Also, in some versions of Minecraft, in some mod packs, the day blooms and nightshades, because they're passively generating flowers, they will disappear after like 1 or 2 Minecraft days. I think that's by default in the newer versions of Botania, so these all might disappear pretty quickly. So we do want to make some endo flames as soon as possible. But before then, I would like to see if we have what it takes to make our first hay bale. So let's go on back over here. Let's grab our sigil of the green grove. Let's do this for a little bit. And once we've got 9 wheat, we can come back over to our terminal, craft that up into a hay bale, and let's see how much we need to make this work. Because there are no numbers in Botania, it doesn't tell you like how much mana we need or how much mana is in there, but we currently do not have enough mana within this mana pool to actually make that work. Also, I'm not quite sure what happens to that thing on the left there. It's like a green bar, but when we look at this, it kind of goes all messed up. Not quite sure what that is. But in that case, then, I guess we're going to have to make some of the endo flames to get some fuel, to get some mana into the mana pool a little bit quicker. And again, just like we did before, the way that we make endo flames is using petals. This time, there are 2 mana petals, and those are crafted by just throwing petals into the mana pool. So, for example, for this one, we do need some red, some brown, and some light grey. Thankfully, we have both brown and red on us. So, for example, if I was to go ahead and craft all those up into petals like so, we need how many of these? We need 4 endo flames, which means we're going to need 8 of both of these. So, we need 4 mana reds and 4 mana browns. 1, 2, 3, 4. And all we have to do for these is just throw them into here. 1, 2. We have to wait a little while because, of course, these things are fairly slow. So, again, I'm going to go away, guys. I'm going to make all of the mana petals that we need. I'm going to make all the endo flames that we need, and I'll be back in a second. And once again, boom, we get ourselves that third ender flame over here. I did put my first one down over here next to the mana spreader because it speeds things up so much. All you gotta do is just throw some fuel down next to it. It's got no kind of interface or anything like that. You just throw down your fuel right next to it and it'll start to send mana straight through into here. Do we quite have enough in here yet? We don't. And so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna dig a bit of a hole in the floor for some more dirt to go around. How much do we have? 12 more. This should be fine. Let's put one down like there. Let's get rid of you and put one down here. And then finally put that last one down here. And we're going to throw down all of these ender flames. Boom, boom, and boom. And then if we were to just throw down our oak anywhere around it, really, let me just do like something like this. Make sure I don't pick it up. And something like that. That should go ahead and start to consume all that wood and send just a bunch of mana straight through here. You can see now it's sending massive pulses all the time because it's getting a bunch more mana from all these ender flames compared to what it was getting before. And we can now finally craft our first piece of sugarcane. Nice. And then once we've got that, all we need to do is get ourselves some dirt. I'll stick it down like, I guess. Oh, look, we've got a visitor of some kind. He can stay there. We'll throw it down like right about here, I guess. Stick down the sugarcane. I'm hoping that I can use my sigil of the green grove here. Does this work? It looks to be working, but also at the same time, well, the sigil looks to be working. The actual thing does not seem to be working. Let me check bone meal real quick. Can we use some bone meal on this? I don't think we can. Yeah, no, that's not going to work. I wonder... Ooh, okay, so the first try didn't work, but what you can do is if you put sand down, use the crop sticks on the sand, and then put the sugarcane in the crop sticks, it actually turns into something that looks a lot like this. You can see the growth is actually surprisingly fast. It jumped up to 57% there real quickly, and now we should be able to do something like that. Nice. And just right click. And just like before, we can do the same thing as we've been doing with every other plant and just kind of sitting, going backwards and forwards with the mouse. We are getting a ton of sugarcane and then using the sugarcane to, of course, get sugar, at which point we can then get some speed runes, and we are going to be so much faster than we have been up until now. So let's go ahead and craft all those up, and let's have a look at the recipe for the speed runes. So each one of these requires 4 stone, 2 blank slates, a normal blood rune, which is interesting because none of the other ones have required that. Thankfully, we now have our iron pickaxe, which allows us to pick these blood runes up. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go away, I'm going to get some more slates made, I'm going to cook up some more stone, I'm going to get some more sugar, and I'll be back in a second. And once again, a little while later, we now have all of the slates that we need. So if we come back over to our applied energistic system, grab at this stack of stone that is freshly cooked, we should be able to make actually quite a lot of these speed runes. So let's do something like that. How many runes do we have left over? None. So we can make the 1 right now, and this 1 is going to make the altar 20% faster. And the way that this works is the effect is additive. So every single time that you add a new speed rune to it, it gets a little bit faster. So right now it'll be 20% faster. If we add another one, it'll become 40% faster. And then another one 60, 80, 100, etc., etc. I don't think they stack. So, for example, like with the runes of dislocation, that effect stacks. So that original 20 millibuckets goes with 24, and then after that, the next 20% is calculated from that 24%, whereas this one, I believe, is just calculated from the base speed. It's a little weird to think about, but basically, it doesn't kind of ball out of control quite so fast. It doesn't get super crazy. Once you add 5 of them, it's not like 20% of a certain speed, and then 20% of the faster speed, and it gets faster and faster and faster. That's not how that works. If you understand what I'm on about, great. If you don't, it's fine. Don't really matter what I'm on about. Just know that it's not super crazy. But if we put a bunch of these down, and then we've got one more spare, I guess we can go ahead and just fill up this left lane with speed runes here, like so. That gives us 7, which should make it about 140% faster than the base altar itself. So let's put you back down there. Let's grab ourselves one more piece of stone again. Let's see if this thing is like noticeably faster at crafting this stuff up. So if we take an old piece of stone, stick it down like that. Let's see, is it draining down? You can see now it's draining down a little bit. It's not draining down exceptionally fast, but that was definitely faster than before. And what I think I want to do, just to kind of test this, is I'm going to go away again. I think I'm going to replace as many of these as I can, maybe even this whole outside lane, with speed runes, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so quite a bit of time later, my plan with this was to put down speed runes until I got to the point where my piping system here was not able to pump blood into the altar fast enough for how fast it was draining it. And it turns out that I haven't reached that point yet. I filled up this whole outer layer here with speed runes. So this thing is now going a lot faster than it was originally, which means we can make slates a lot faster like that. I made 26 slates there super quickly, whereas before when I make batch slates like that, it takes forever. And yeah, I mean, we filled the whole thing up, but it's still, we've got enough runes of dislocation to where this thing is still not running out of blood at any given time, which is pretty fantastic. And so what I want to try to do now that we've got this super fast altar, is I want to try and complete one of the little quest lines that we've got within the offering more section. And let me quickly just actually go ahead and claim all of these quests that we completed, I think, last episode. We've got a diamond block for that one. That's pretty cool. And actually, that's going to come in super helpful, because the quest that I want to try and do is this little quest line down here to make the bound armor. And the way that we do that is, first of all, we have to make 24 filled sockets. So if we look up the recipe real quick for a filled socket, this guy over here requires 30,000 life points in a tier 3 altar with an empty socket, and an empty socket is made using 4 weak blood shards, 4 glass, and a diamond. That's why I said the diamond was going to come in pretty useful. It's not quite 24 diamonds, which is a heck of a lot, but now that we've got ourselves quite a fast altar, we should be able to turn normal stone, and actually let me quickly fill that up real quick, like so. We should be able to make the imbued slates, which we can use to duplicate our blood shards fairly quickly. For example, let's put that in there. Actually, let's put 1 in there. I want to put 1 at a time in. Let me see how quickly we can make 1 imbued shard. So if I put that in, it should quickly turn into a normal shard, fairly quickly turn into the next shard, and then after that it takes 5,000 to get to the imbued shard, and it's done. It is done. That is super fast compared to how fast it was before. And so, guys, what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to go away. I'm going to make as many of these blood shards. I think we still have one lying around in our A system. We do, thankfully. I'm going to go away. We need 4 per one of these, and we need 24 of these, which means we need, like, what, 96 blood shards in order to make this work. So, I'm going to go away. I should probably put some cobblestone into the crusher to start turning that into gravel, which we can then turn into sand, which we could, of course, then turn into glass. But yeah, I'm going to go away. I'm going to try and make 96 of these flipping things, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so a little while later, I think I may have bitten off a little bit more than I can chew. I was looking at the recipe for this, and originally, I read this as requiring 1,000 life points. It turns out it requires 10,000 life points, and so to do this 96 times is going to require just shy of 1,000,000 life points to complete. So instead, what we're going to do is, to finish up this episode, we're going to put 1 of these weak blood shards into the blood altar, and was that in? There we go. No, that one's in. We're going to put 1 in there, and that is to craft up the tier 4 blood orb, which is the master blood orb, which, coincidentally, can hold 1,000,000 life points. So, once that is done, what I'm going to do between episodes, I'm going to leave that thing. Oh, we're running out of life essence. Whoa, okay. Did not quite expect that to happen, but it is done, thankfully, very much. So, we'll take that. Basically, what I'm going to do, guys, between episodes, I will leave this blood orb in the blood altar there. That's going to slowly tick on up, actually pretty quickly tick on up, and hopefully by the start of next episode, it will have 1,000,000 life points in it, at which point we can go through and start to craft up the bound armor and finish up that bit of the quest line there. But for now, guys, thanks for watching. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to hit like. It really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys next time.